there. You are listening to the Girl Talk podcast. My name is Carol.
This is Alicia.
Hey, I'm Tricia.
And we had a little get-together with some of our girlfriends recently, and that is where today's topic was born. We told everybody around the table, we gave out note cards, and we said, write down something that you've either had a conversation about or that is on your mind today, okay? There was 5 of us around the table. Rest, fatigue, getting help, you can't do it all, healthy boundaries, desire for peace and serenity in life. So, we're going to be talking about rest today, and if you would like to take a nap during this episode, we're in total support of that.
Yeah, go for it.
Although I have to tell you, we're quite loud, so if you have earbuds in, that might not be a good idea. But rest, it's such a hard topic because I think we as women, at least, I'm not going to speak for women, I will say for me, when I feel my body being depleted and I need to rest, it seems like that is when I have the most that I need to get done. Mm-hmm. And I feel guilty for resting.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes, you are not alone.
And that, you know, I was just trying to think through rest in my own life, and we all know our bodies. Like, we all have signals. I'm learning that. It's taken me a long time to learn that, but I think you, Tricia, have been very valuable in that for me because you've taught me to listen to my body and to listen to what it's saying to me. And I'd never thought of that before. I would just like get up and think, oh man, I'm going to need another cup of coffee. I wasn't thinking that my body was actually sending me a signal. Hey, you didn't sleep real good last night, and that's why you're tired today, you know. But all of that is related, and I think rest is kind of the place where all our problems tend to start.
Yes.
Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
No. Think about it. Let's say you're having a tough day and everything is going off kilter and you're struggling emotionally, you're struggling physically. Think back. Did you not sleep well? That's almost always a question I ask myself, and the answer is almost always, no, I did not sleep well. Because when you don't rest, nothing else goes right, I think.
Think about through the eyes of your kids. Like, if your kids don't sleep, how do they act the next day?
Cranky.
Right?
Yeah.
And we, like, I can identify. I'm like, oh, you didn't get enough sleep last night. This is why this is happening today. And so I think it's so true for us, but we don't think of it in those terms. We think, well, I know people that get 4 or 5 hours of sleep a night. Mm-hmm. And I personally cannot live on that. Yeah. I can't do it. I'm a wreck. But I know other people that thrive, and they think that they only need a few hours of sleep, or they think that they can do with less than everybody else. But I don't really think that's true. I think in some other way their body reacts and tells them, yeah, this isn't really working.
So maybe if like somebody's really getting on your nerves today, you would suggest a nap for them.
Yes.
If you would go take a nap, you'd get on my nerves less.
I tell that to myself all the time. That's the truth.
No, I've heard people say that. Like they use that as a badge of honor. Like, I only need 3 hours of sleep, and feel like that's a real accomplishment. I tell you what, and the fitness trackers have kind of changed the whole world of sleep because we now know how long we're sleeping, and I don't put all my stock in that because I think there can be inaccurate readings at times. But when you see a trend over time, I think you can draw some things from that. And I would have told you, like, I need like 8 to 9 hours. I'm really only getting about 7 on a good night.
I think that's the key, too.
Yeah.
Is that we think we're sleeping for however many hours because you go to bed and then you physically get up at a certain time. But how many times do you go to the bathroom? How many times do you wake up?
3. And it's awful. Every night.
I mean, that's a lot.
I know.
But then how many times does your mind race? And how long are you awake in those periods where you're not really in that REM sleep? And that's where the fitness trackers really can help you see that.
Yeah.
But I think even without them, if you're up and your mind is going, and it could be an hour. That's 1 hour less of sleep that you got.
Well, I don't think we really do know because we're paying so much attention to everybody else. And I think that's one of the really valuable things that I have at least gleaned over the last couple of years is to pay attention to my body. And maybe it's because I have been, very involved with my parents' health care and how they're doing and paying more attention. Like there are certain diseases, you can see it play out in a parent and, once this happens, this starts happening, this starts happening. And I think paying more attention to that for them has made me more conscious about my own health because when you see it in somebody else and like you're the one that's responsible for it, just like your kids, you know, if my kid comes home and automatically lays down on the couch and doesn't say a word, I know she's sick. I just know that, you know. And so what does that mean for me, and what does it mean for my life? And I think it even translates in my life spiritually too, because when I'm tired, man, the enemy has a heyday.
Oh, yeah.
Like
yeah.
heyday.
Your defenses are down.
Right.
But here's the thing that I'm learning, that no one will protect your boundaries except for you. People love you, people care for you, but they don't mean to. But nobody's going to say to you, I think you need to stop now. I think you need to rest now. I think you need to go home. I think you need to take a nap. I think you need to.
You will. Tricia will. If you're her friend, she'll tell you that.
Well, because
she runs
I know.
me off on a regular basis.
Because you're doing the morning show now.
Yeah.
And you do need to go home and rest, because I had to go. I knew I had to go home and take a nap every day, and I still need rest. And there's another whole piece, which is not just sleep.
Right.
It's rest.
Yeah.
There's something, yes, we need to sleep at night, but we also need downtime.
Right.
And I think that is, I mean, a lot of times people will go, oh, yeah, you need to get sleep. Go ahead and get your sleep. But people don't understand that we also need time away, stepping away from responsibilities and work and doing things. And you just need downtime. That's rest. It's different than sleep.
Yeah.
You can get 8 hours of sleep and still be exhausted because you're not having any downtime. And that is something that I'm learning apart from sleep.
You are stepping all over my toes. Stop it.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. Because I really, for most of my life, have operated with no downtime. Like no margins in my life at all.
Fill it up.
Yeah. Because when you fill it up, then you don't have to deal with your own. This is like a counseling session for me. But you don't have to deal with your own stuff, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So you fill it up with other, you help people, and you do because you don't want to deal with your own stuff. And so that's probably been a coping mechanism that's not such a good thing. And here's the thing, and maybe it's having kids, maybe it's just getting older. I don't know. But I've been more conscious of patterns in my life, like of things that I do that I'm not real sure why I do that. And it's been because I've had loving friends say, why are you doing that? And I had a girl tell me this week, she's in my group at church, and she said, I made myself a deal a couple of years ago that I would not say yes to things that I didn't really want to do. And I was like, oh my word, can you rub a little bit of that on me? You know, because I think we live so much of our lives out of obligation. Like, if you ask me to do something, I'll probably say yes because I think, oh, she thought enough of me to ask me to do it when my heart's not really in it.
Well, and I think sometimes even your heart is in it, you want to do it, but maybe it's just not the season that you're supposed to do it.
Yeah, that's true.
Adding another thing in. I'm currently considering something to do that I don't know if I have the right time to do it.
Yeah.
And so I've been kind of putting it off, answering if and that's telling me a lot because I didn't answer immediately and say, yes, all right, let's set this meeting up. I think that's God's way of kind of telling me, yeah, maybe this, I know you want to do it. Maybe it's a not now answer. Yes,
and
but not now.
Yeah. And I think we say, at least I do. I'll say this sometimes, and I'm not really even praying about it. But I'll pray about it so that you kind of think that you put them off and buy yourself a little time to think of another excuse. And you say you're praying about it, and you don't pray about it. 'Cause I'm guilty of that. I'm a sinner and worse than all y'all. So just go ahead and get that out on the table. But I think we do. We say, I'll pray about it, and then we really don't consult God on it at all. We were trying to buy some more time. And when did we? Is that just the South? I mean, I don't know. Is it just the South that we feel like we got to say, why, yes, darling, I'll do that?
Well, I think saying it in those words, but no, the idea of saying yes to something I do not think is just the South. I think it is a universal thing. And I think it's a very much of a woman thing. And I think
we want to please and help
and help.
We're mothers and comforters and all of that, and we don't want to let someone down, especially, I think this is where it gets really hard for me, especially if there's a need. And so if you're going to say no, who is going to do it?
Right.
That's right. Do you remember the book
Will it
Best
fail?
Yes? Do you remember the book Best Yes? Did you read it?
I haven't.
Yes, but it's been a while.
I haven't read it.
So it's been a while for me too, and there are lots of parts of it I'd like to revisit because it was really good, and it
Lisa
was all
Turker,
about
right?
Yes, and it was all about saying yes to the right things and saying no to the other things, so that you could really fully say yes, the best yes. But it talked about that. If you're having to make a decision, if someone's asking you to do something, and it may be a good something like teaching Sunday school class or taking this particular trip or teaching somebody something or mentoring or whatever it is, you go through a series of questions to ask yourself how you feel about it. And you pay attention to those inward I guess
cues.
those inward sensations and cues. And then when you think about having said yes to it, how does it make you feel? If immediately you feel panicked or overwhelmed, that's probably a sign that that's not going to be your best yes.
That's great. That's
Right?
great.
That's
I would love
really
to have
good
those
to me.
questions. Yeah. Here's what you said this word a few minutes ago. I want to revisit it. And I think it kind of ties in nicely here is how do we set healthy boundaries for ourselves? Because I read the book Boundaries. We've talked about that book before. I think you're on the podcast, but I talked about it, and I had a lot of people ask me about it, and it's probably something I need to go back and read again, honestly. But we don't have a good sense of setting healthy boundaries. You know, you think about. There's a boundary with your house. Like there are people that you don't mind. They walk by on the street or jog by and you throw up your hand. And there are people that you invite into your yard. And then there are people you invite to sit on the front porch. And then there are people that you invite into your home. You know, and when you think of relationships in that framework, it gives you a whole new way of looking at things. I mean, you wouldn't invite someone necessarily into your home that was dangerous. But we invite them into our lives all the time. I was in counseling a couple years ago, and I had this one relationship I was really struggling with. And the counselor said to me, that person is not safe for you. And I was like, what?
Wow.
You know, but he said that if you know that going into it, the expectation changes because you're not putting your heart right out there and saying, here's my heart. I want you to see my heart because you know they're going to chop it into a million pieces and hand it back to you. So if you know going in that person is not safe, you're going to have a healthy boundary up and say, this is what I can do and this is what I can't do. And it really helped me in that relationship especially because that person wasn't safe for me. I mean, they weren't a danger to society. They weren't doing anything illegal, but emotionally they weren't a safe person that I could trust.
Wow.
And so that changed for me. So I think we need to talk just for a minute about how do you set those boundaries and how do you respect them? Because we set them for our kids.
Yes, we do. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about it. You know, if you don't have kids, you will one day. If you have kids that you love in your life, there are certain people that you want them to be around and certain people you don't want them to be around. And we'll set those for kids and we will stick to them.
Yeah. And even like bedtimes and stuff
yeah.
like that. Well, yes,
Yeah, healthy
absolutely you're
boundaries.
going to be in bed at night. And meanwhile, we're doing the dishes or, planning something or writing out that list till
That's right.
11:30.
That's
well,
true.
I think sometimes with the sleeping thing that like we feel like this, I stay up late or I'm a night owl, but you forget that your morning doesn't change. Most people have to be up for something specific in the morning.
That's so true.
And so if you're bleeding into the evening because maybe you really are a night owl and you like it and you thrive and that's where you
My
clean
kid
or
is.
do your hobby or do whatever. I know people that exercise after their kids go to bed. And so that keeps them up and kind of, or they late watch TV or movies or whatever. But I had to kind of scale that back and say, I like staying up at night, but I have to get up at a certain time in the morning and be ready to go. And that's cutting. And so I've had to train myself and give myself permission to go to bed earlier. It's kind of embarrassing to say that you go to bed at whatever time, right? Okay.
Why is that embarrassing?
I've had people say, "Oh my gosh, you go to bed that early? Like, how do you get anything done?" And I can't go to bed that early because I've got all this, and this, and this to do. Or you're a whatever year old adult. How do you need to go to bed that early?
I would then say, then don't tell me you're exhausted.
Well,
Is that wrong?
but I think the key
Did I say that out loud?
Yeah.
there are more people that go to bed earlier. It's kind of like the old lady-ish thing. Like older people go to
I
bed
don't
really
care.
early. They eat really early.
Call me old. I don't
You
care.
know.
Because you're following the circadian rhythms. It's actually better for you.
And so I think there are more people that go to bed early than you realize.
Alicia, you said it. You said give yourself permission.
Yeah.
I think that's how you set a healthy boundary, and that's how you keep a healthy boundary, Because if you don't feel good about it, if you don't feel like you're giving yourself permission, then your boundaries are going to slide all away,
Yeah.
You're not going to hold to them. You're not going to feel strongly about them. But if you take the time to really focus on what your needs are and prayerfully, do it prayerfully. I'm not, just ask God what you need to do, but giving yourself permission once you feel like you have a good answer to do it, to take it.
Yeah, and I think giving yourself permission to do that and giving yourself time to think about the things that are exhausting you, because for some of us it is we're not getting enough sleep. For some of us we're involved in relationships that are emotionally draining.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
we need
That's huge.
we need to set some healthy boundaries.
I think
there.
there's a lot of toxic relationships and you don't realize it.
So
You think,
true.
oh, we're friends, or we're in this whatever type of relationship. Maybe it's a boss, and you're thinking, well, because they are the leader and you need to have that respect. But maybe that's a toxic relationship for you, and that's God's way of saying, you know what, I've got a better job for you over here.
Or you adjust your expectations with the job you got. Instead of, like I said, letting yourself be exhausted. Because I will find I'm very much a people person. Y'all know that. But the older I get, the more I need time to recharge after I'm with people. So if we do a great big group event or something, I am on and I love it and I'm in the moment and I'm just having the greatest time. But it played out with Alicia one time because I said, we're going to go to this event. And on the way home, I'm going to be so quiet. You're going to think, what in the world has happened?
And we
to
did.
Carol?
You're like, what's up with Carol?
And I told
I'm
her
so
beforehand.
glad you said that beforehand, because we would have thought we were with another coworker and Carol was quiet the whole time, and which is unusual for Carol.
Yeah.
Carol's very talkative and very energetic, as you guys know. But she does, and I'm like that. I'm great. I can get up in front of people. I can do different things, but then it's like I just want to be alone. Yeah. Even if I go out to dinner with my family, we'll all go out. We'll be in the car together. We'll be going to an event or go to dinner together or something simple. Come back. I'm like, I want to be alone now.
Yeah.
We need
I
that. You
just need
spend
a
your
little bit
people
of time.
dollars.
Spend your people dollars.
Yeah. You're all out of people dollars. You know what happens to me after an event?
What,
I go right to sleep.
Yeah.
Snooze fest.
And so I think sitting around these microphones, we all have different needs. And I think the key for me was just taking the time to understand what those were and prayerfully saying, God, what is it here that is causing me to be exhausted? Is it physical rest? Is it emotionally draining relationships? Is it a mental battle that I'm fighting? What is the area where you can bring your peace and flood me with that peace?
Well,
And give it to God. That's it. That's
so true.
key,
Well,
I
and
think.
Sundays used to be the day of rest.
I know.
But Sundays are busy days.
Yes.
We've got church in the morning, and a lot of times there's a life group or a small group or something or youth group at night. There's all the laundry and
Getting ready for the next
making my smoothies for the week on Sundays.
Yeah.
But God created
Sabbath.
rest. He told us you need rest. And so I think maybe if Sunday isn't your day where you get a lot of rest, you've got to find pockets in the week, other ways to get it.
If you want to go deeper on that topic, I did a Bible study with Priscilla Shirer called Breathe. It's an excellent study. It talks about that. And we're going to list some of these resources out for you. We'd love to hear what you have to think about spiritual rest, physical rest. We'd love to hear your tips for setting those healthy boundaries. We'd just love to hear from you. All you got to do is email us, girltalk@thelightfm.org. You're welcome to get in touch on the Facebook page. We're going to have different stuff on there about rest. And we just appreciate you being part of this family, because we do feel like you are family and you're sitting right here with us. So we will see you next time we gather around these microphones for the Girl Talk podcast.